Welcome everybody to this week's edition of Three Men and a Movie. This week we're going to be talking about A Wrinkle in Time, which is a movie that's been getting a lot of buzz because it's based on some children's literature, and a lot of people recognize the name and a lot of the cast as well. We've got Oprah Winfrey, we've got Reese Witherspoon, Mindy Kaling, Zach Galifianakis, and a few other notable actors that you see in the list of the cast, and you think, okay, this is going to be a good one. And visually, it was very pleasant to see, to watch. But as far as the story is concerned, it left a little to be desired. Actually, it left a lot to be desired. So the story is at the very bottom, and the basic parts of the plot. It's a little girl who's having trouble reconciling the disappearance of her father, who is a scientist. See, and her father has been working on this theory that instead of time being linear, you could create sort of a fold in that timeline, or hence the title, A Wrinkle in Time, where someone could maybe travel 5 years, but with this wrinkle in time that you could create from your imagination or from your thoughts. This is where the fantasy part comes in. It's not necessarily just science, but it is definitely some science fiction fantasy adventure in the film. So the dad disappears. He tries this thing out. He disappears. As the audience, we know that he's probably stuck in some parallel universe, but the girl is just dealing with human life here on Earth. Where the two stories converge is where all of a sudden one day, out of the blue, these witches or these fairy godmothers or these creatures from another place show up at her doorstep, show up at her house. And the first one that appears is Reese Witherspoon, who actually does a very good job and is very lighthearted and funny and an interesting character that reaches out to this little girl and lets her know, like, okay, there is another world. Your dad is probably stuck there. So he's not dead. He's not gone forever. You have an opportunity to become who you've always thought you should be and who everyone knows you could be, and reach your full potential. So that's one of those themes there for young people especially, like follow your dreams, never lose hope, and reach your full potential. So this girl thinks, okay, I miss my father. My life is in shambles because of his disappearance. I'm going to go look for him. And that unfolds this whole new world that she discovers with the help of these witches, one of which is Oprah Winfrey, who seems to be at the very bottom of it, the mother of it all, the main goddess or the main witch of these three major witches, which I mentioned already, and Mindy Kaling is also one of those, who adds a little spice of comedy in there. And if you know Mindy Kaling from The Office and from her own show, or The Mindy Project, you know that she's a very funny actress and a very funny character, and you can see it as soon as you see her show up on screen. So up to this point, I've said some positive things that make it sound like I enjoy the movie, which in some parts, like I said, I did. It wasn't a total miss, but I am going to say a couple of things. One, either forget about it, don't watch it, because as an adult 36-year-old man, there really isn't too much interest for me. There isn't too much payoff for me. The themes are there that I mentioned already, but I want to see some deeper stories and more compelling film. This story is definitely for children. So if you wait for it, you would wait for it knowing, and with the caveat that this movie is for a very specific audience. And that audience is, the way that I see it, tweens. 9, 10, 11, maybe 12 might even be reaching. That's the audience for this film. And because the lead character in the movie is a little girl and the witches are all female, it does have a very female power movement behind it for either young little girls or even for adult women. So a little girl might enjoy it even more than a little boy, not, depending on whatever the child might be interested in, but it seems like a very niche type of film and for a very specific audience. So as far as the story is concerned, it appeared and seemed a little too simple for me. that parallel universe or that parallel world where the father was stuck was very visually stimulating, and there was a lot of good CGI and things like that. The witches, in one particular case, manipulate the weather and manipulate environments, and there's a lot of creatures that emerge and come out. And in one particular scene, Reese Witherspoon's character turns into what appears to be like some sort of magical dragon made out of foliage and leaves and things like that. And that's kind of cool. But once you get over that aspect of the visuals, it becomes a very simple story where a girl's looking for her dad. And we know he's there. We know she's going to find him. She just has to find it in herself to become that powerful warrior, which they keep insisting that she is, and she just has to find it within herself. And that's a nice story, but not for a film of about 2 hours or whatever, and not for you to go pay for it either. I had a lot of high expectations. The trailer looked very inviting and very interesting, but once I actually got to see the film, it sort of didn't pay off for me. Like I said, if you have children though, might be a different story. You might be able to enjoy the film through the enjoyment that it gives your children. So that has been another edition of 3 Men and a Movie.